attracting as your animals do. Even though they do not have language, they are communicating in very powerful ways vibrationally. The question that you asked when we began, we want to come back around to that because it is a good basis for this. People often, when they first hear about law of attraction or that you create your own reality, most are very excited about the idea because they want control. They want control over the bad things, and they want to be able to bring in more of the good things. Then, soon after, as they discover that control of their own experience means control of their own thoughts, then they're not so sure about all of that, because it's not an easy thing to control one's thought with so much stimulation around. And so that's really what you're speaking to.
Yes.
If there is the responsibility of a parent or a mentor, it would be to teach the child that they have guidance within. And if they're listening to the guidance within, they could not comfortably ever settle on the thoughts that would then attract something unwanted.
Okay, I'm here on XM 156, trying to attract a very good vibration here, talking to Esther Hicks, who is channeling Abraham on the show. And my question to you, though, is not about the vibrational. I understand the whole vibrational frequency
Yes.
thing, and that's why I feel that in terms of The Secret, that it's a great tool.
We agree.
It's a great tool. But I don't think that it's an answer to every single question in the world, because there are many other universal laws at play. Everybody's born and everybody is going to transition. Everybody comes to Earth. Everything that comes to Earth eventually takes another form and moves through the Earth and out until wherever we go. I should ask you, where do we go?
You withdraw your consciousness from this physical experience and you reemerge into non-physical, and you feel yourself as the culmination of all that you have become. It is an exhilarating experience in one fell swoop to leave behind all doubt and fear and worry and self-denial, and to become in one moment the full recognized being that you are. It's important to know that you came into this body from your non-physical perspective.
Mm-hmm. May I interrupt a second?
Certainly.
Because I just thought this. Are we making too much of the whole body thing? Are we kind of caught up on it because that's what we are? Are we making too much of it? And so people say, for example, this person has a bad life, this person has a good life, and the way we define good life is by how many things you can have, and bad life is that you didn't have as many things. And I ask that question because as you visit different parts of the world, I see people with absolutely nothing who are far happier than most of the people that I see that have lots and lots of different things. So are we in the wrong frequency? Are we thinking the wrong things about what is good and what is not?
Well, it isn't wrong to seek material things. You are physically manifested. You have a material body. And so it is right that you would want to surround yourself with things like that. But what happens, whether you are in an environment where there is very little stimulation about wanting things, or whether you are in an environment like this where there is so much stimulation about it, the important thing to understand is that whatever life you're living, your life is causing you to define what it is you are wanting. You're constantly emitting these rockets of desire as you sift through the contrast of your experience. It's not a complicated story to unravel, and we can give it to you in a very short period of time if you're wanting it.
Please do.
So, you are source energy, every one of you, and you make the decision to come forth into these physical bodies because you know that this leading edge experience on planet Earth is the leading edge experience, not just for man, but for that which man calls God. So as you express yourself forward into these physical bodies, the environment that surrounds you and the contrast of it helps you individually and uniquely to define what you desire. And as that desire is born within you, even before you can put words to it, it radiates from you like a rocket, and the source that was you before you were born follows that rocket and literally becomes the vibrational equivalent of every hope and desire and dream that every one of you dream. So out of the contrast is born the anew, the renewed, the expanded version of life. We like to refer to that expanded version of you as your vibrational escrow. It's who life has caused you to become. But most physical beings, even though life is causing them to become this, They stand looking at what they have rather than looking at who they have become. So they affect a separation between who they have now become and who they are letting themselves be. But the source within them always calls them toward it. That's why when you feel enthusiasm, you are on the same vibration. Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss, and we think those are the best words that have ever been offered. But sometimes you cannot get a whiff of bliss. If you are in despair, if something bad has happened, if you've witnessed something, and someone is saying you should follow your bliss, even though Source is calling you, you can't hear it because the vibration of where you are and the vibration of Source is different enough that you can't hear it. Not that it isn't calling, but you can't hear it. So, do you know what the call of Source sounds like? People say it must sound like harps and angels.
No.
We say it depends on where you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in appreciation, the call of Source feels like elation. If you are in despair, if you feel powerless, the call of Source feels like rage. If you are in rage or anger, the call of Source then feels like frustration. In other words, it's a slight improvement from where you are is what the call of Source always sounds like. So 9/11 came out of so many people feeling so powerless for so long that the next logical step for them was something. We always say we want to call you through the rage and revenge so that you don't act on it, but it is a logical place to be. If you've ever been depressed, you know how much better you feel when you get mad. And your friends don't want you to be mad. They liked you better when you were depressed, but you've got to admit at least you're breathing now. You do feel better. So everything about coming into alignment with who you are is about closing that gap between whatever you're focused upon in your now experience and who you really are.
Well, this has been very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you, Esther Hicks. Thank you, Abraham. But it's time to wrap this chapter of our exclusive Soul series here on Oprah and Friends XM 156. Fascinating to me. Next week, more on how we can apply the law of attraction in our own lives, which I know lots of people are talking about these days. And does it work or doesn't it work? And does it make you a victim if bad things happen? And find out if there are other universal laws that also will help us begin to live a more purposeful life. Oh, hey, welcome back. We're still talking to Esther Hicks. I can't get enough of her, who's written the book, The Law of Attraction. Those of you who are stimulated by The Secret or have questions about The Secret, that's a great follow-up book to open the door, expand your thinking, really understand and to be able to begin to put into practice the law of attraction. Last week, Esther was here, channeling Abraham. I have to tell you, I couldn't tell the difference between you and Abraham. I have to tell you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You don't find him a lot smarter?
No, I think you've been listening to him for so long. You're getting it yourself.
I think I do have it. That they do have a clarity that I don't have.
A clarity. I think I noticed that there is a difference in articulation. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think sometimes the words feel a little sharper, more succinct, more direct. Mm-hmm. That's what I feel. What does that feel like to you when you're doing that?
It's the best thing I ever do. Mm-hmm. Them flowing through me. It's like flying. Mm-hmm. I love the sensation of it.
Really?
It's the feeling of utter well-being, and it's the feeling of knowing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you say utter well-being because how do you know what your state of being is?
To me, it's the absence of anything that's bothering me.
Yeah.
Utter well-being. It's just that feeling, that everything's fine and that everything's all right. And it's a feeling of elation.
So as I sit here talking to you, I wondered when I read yours and Jerry's book on the law of attraction, which is now on the New York Times bestseller list. This is written so beautifully through the words of Abraham that you say, that you channel. And I'm wondering, because you know all of this now, do you ever have a bad day?
Yes. But
well, you attracted that to yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when I have a bad day, I feel guilty, which makes the day worse. And then I remember Abraham saying, you are where you are. Just reach for a thought that feels better. They say you can't set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM.
Or XM 156.
Yeah, or that.
Yeah.
So when something happens and you focus on it, you feel what it is. But we have choices.
You say on page 49 of the Law of Attraction that your attention to anything is drawing it closer to you. So that means even when you're saying, and I loved it when you say, try not to think about snow. Everybody listening right now, don't think about snow. And immediately you think about snow falling, snow on a mountain, snow. And you're saying in the book, The Law of Attraction, that the vibration doesn't hear no or don't. The vibration hears snow.
Every subject's two subjects. It's like picking up a stick, and on one end of it is what the absence of what you want, and on the other end of it is what you want. So you pick up the subject and you activate it, and depending on how you feel is which end of the stick you're on. It's like, am I really thinking about my lover coming, or am I noticing that he hasn't come yet? It's the subject is my lover,
Yeah.
but if I'm thinking about him coming, I feel high and happy. If I'm thinking about the fact that I have no idea where he is or if he'll ever show up, I feel terrible.
Yeah, so that's why you speak about and have written about the law of deliberate creation.
Yes.
Because I think for most people, they can't even figure out what it is they really want.